After the Islanders suffered a brutal loss against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a loss that likely takes the Islanders out of playoff contention, Patrick Roy made some shocking comments about how he felt certain players played in this game, and these comments are likely going to lead to roster changes down the stretch for the Islanders. We're going to really break down these comments on this episode of Islanders Digest, but before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, be one of our first 100 subscribers. If you're an Islander fan and you want more Islanders content just like this is the channel for you, so be sure to subscribe. Now, after this game, a game where the Islanders looked really bad. It wasn't just a game where the Islanders lost. The entire team looked really rough, but one player that really suffered in this game and who's been suffering for the majority of this season is Anthony Duclair. And after the post game, when a reporter asked Patrick Roy, he just let Duclair have it. And we're going to really break down these comments because they're generally shocking, especially after a coach a few days ago, John Tortorella, got fired after some controversial comments. This is getting a lot of attention from NHL media, and I think we have to discuss these comments. Patrick Roy, in reference to Anthony Duclair, said he was god-awful. He had a bad game. That's why I didn't play him a lot, and he's lucky to be in the lineup. Sorry if I lose it on him right now, but that's how I feel. He continued to say he's not skating, he's not competing, he's not moving his feet, he's not playing up to what we expect from him. And yes, as an Islander fan, Patrick Roy is right. Anthony Duclair is not playing well. He has been really struggling to really provide anything out there on the ice. At best, he's invisible, and in the worst case, he's making really bad defensive errors that are costing the Islanders goals while also not providing any offense, which is what he's supposed to provide. With Anthony Duclair, you expect some defensive mishaps here and there, but he's supposed to make up for it with a lot of offense. We're getting almost no offense, and we're going to get to his stats in a little bit. And yeah, these comments are accurate. But it's also a little concerning to see a head coach just rip on a player in public. And this is not the first time that Patrick Roy has done it. And I'm not going to be too critical here because it worked last time. It really worked with Pierre Engvall. Patrick Roy was ripping into Pierre Engvall a lot this season, really saying that he did not like the way he was playing and saying he expected more. And you know what? Pierre Engvall came to the table and provided more for the New York Islanders. And we'll see if this will be a real rallying cry for Anthony Duclair to play better. But if not, this can definitely lead to the Islanders making some lineup changes down the stretch, or at least demoting Anthony Duclair to a lower line because he is not producing anything. And as we'll talk about a little bit towards the end of this video, while the Islanders are kind of falling out of playoff contention, you can't have Anthony Duclair playing second line minutes with what he's providing, because what he's providing is almost nothing at this point. We're going to get into his stats right now. In this season, 44 games for the New York Islanders, he has 11 points, 7 goals, 4 assists, and that is not what you expect from a player like Anthony Duclair. Now, I will note he has been hurt for the majority of this season. He got hurt earlier in the year, just 6 games in, and since he's come back, he has not looked the same. I do have to say, when Duclair first came to the Islanders, he looks like a really good player. He looked like he was going to kind of push this team from the playoff line to really help them make it. He seemed to have really good chemistry with Mathew Barzal, and then both of them got injured really early in the season. We haven't gotten Barzal. If Barzal came back, he ends up getting injured again. Duclair came back from his injury, and he just hasn't looked the same since. It was a hamstring injury, and there are a lot of rumors, and I believe it, that part of why Duclair is not skating as good as he possibly can is that he's still suffering from this injury. While he is healthy enough to play, it's still bothering him, and that makes me beg to ask the question, why is he still playing? Why, if he's not 100%, now that the Islanders are looking like they're outside the playoff line and they're not going to be able to get back in, why continue to play Duclair? And that's something I definitely want to know. I do have to say, though, with Patrick Roy's comments about him not moving his feet, not doing all this, it's a good point that, yes, Duclair might be playing hurt, but the effort still isn't there. Honestly, like, I understand, especially a player who relies on his speed to get points, if Anthony Duclair's if his groin is still bothering him, it makes sense that he might not be able to get those breakaways and those 2-on-1s and really provide offense. But that doesn't mean you have to be lazy on defense. He's not lifting anyone's sticks. He's not getting involved in any board battles whatsoever. So even though he might be playing hurt, the effort we're getting from him is unacceptable. Now, one thing I will say, looking on the glass half full point of view, is Anthony Duclair has gotten hurt in previous seasons. Is one of the issues with him as a player. He is a bit injury prone, but if you look back a few seasons ago, 2022, 2023, with the Florida Panthers, he got hurt. He only played 20 games, and even though he struggled early on in the next season next season for the San Jose Sharks, he did end up having 27 points in 56 games before moving to the Lightning and having 15 points in 17 games. So this is a player who has bounced back from injuries before. So I don't think just because Anthony Duclair is playing bad this season after getting hurt, I don't think that's the rest of his contract is going to be bad. And I do want to say Anthony Duclair is a player the Islanders brought in because Patrick Waugh vouched for him. And that might be why he's being a little harsh on him right now, because this is a player that he's shown support for. He really put himself on the line to get him into the lineup, and he feels like Duclair is not rewarding him, and he definitely isn't. But I do still have some expectations that Duclair is going to bounce back next season. If he doesn't, the remaining 3 years on his 4-year contract are looking pretty bad. He's getting $3.5 million. And the bright side is for him to bounce back and really make himself worthwhile as a $3.5 million player, he really only needs to put up 34 points on on a third line role to make that contract worth it. Anything more than that is a steal. That being said, again, this season we're only getting 11 points in 44 games, and he has not looked good doing it. So definitely need some better play from Duclair. That being said, I also want to note that these lines for the Islanders are really rough and could also be contributing to his shortcomings. Sure, Anthony Duclair needs to be better, but Anthony Duclair is a complimentary player. There's a reason why he's only making $3.5 million and he's not making $7 or $6 million like some of the other offensive guys on this team. And that's because Anthony Duclair is a support player. He's not a guy who brings the offense in on his own. And if you look at the line he's playing with right now, JC Pageau is not a second line center. Yes, Duclair needs to be better, but in general, this second line for the Islanders, as expected after trading away Brock Nelson, has been absolutely horrendous. I think Simon Holmstrom has had some good games, he's had some good looks, but JC Pageau has not been able to step up into a second line center role. Didn't really expect him to do it, but this line really looks rough. And playing as a second line player is kind of taking away a lot of what makes Pageau an effective player. He seems kind of lost out there. And maybe part of that is playing with Duclair. But the chemistry between him and Holmstrom has not been there 5-on-5. Strange enough, I still think they're playing really well together on the penalty kill. But 5-on-5, this line is not working. And it's really hurting the Islanders. I would really like to see the Islanders maybe let Siplikov play on the second line. I know it's his off wing, but he's been playing pretty good. Really give him a better opportunity to play, or maybe even find a way to promote Pierre Engvall. Again, Pierre Engvall is playing well, so reward him. Anthony Duclair does not belong in the top 6, at least for this season, and after Patrick Waugh's comments, I would really like to see him demote the player, or maybe even give him a day off and let someone else play, as Stefan Rosner has tweeted, and I love Stefan Rosner's tweets. He's tweeted that in the last few games, the Islanders have not won a game since Mayfield came out of the lineup. In addition, other players such as Peronovich, Riley, Martin have all not played in a while. I actually would kind of like to see Matt Martin play a few more games. Do I think Matt Martin is going to fix the Islanders season at this point? Absolutely not. But it is going to be his likely last pro season. He's been a great Islander. And at this point, it'd be a really good opportunity to give the fans an opportunity to say goodbye to Matt Martin. He is the only other forward on the Islanders' current roster that is not in the lineup. So Patrick Waugh really only has one option if he's going to take Duclair out of the lineup for a game, and that is to bring in Matt Martin. And I think that'd be pretty neat to see. Now, some fans do want to see some younger players from Bridgeport come up to the Islanders, and that's definitely something we might see in the last few games this season, but that is not a Patrick Waugh decision. Until Lou Lamoriello calls a player up, he can only play the players he has in the lineup, and I think the options right now are either to play Matt Martin or play Bovequist at forward again. And I honestly think that is also an intriguing option because I really like the offense that Bovequist brings. I think he does struggle a lot defensively. And honestly, you look at the last few games the Islanders have struggled with, it's because they're making mistakes in the defensive zone. And you know what? Some fans are not going to like this, but looking at this list of players who have not played a while, the one player who I definitely think deserves a little more ice time, another chance to prove himself, is Scott Mayfield. Now, a lot of fans do not like Scott Mayfield's play. They get frustrated with him. He's a big, slow defenseman. But you know what? Scott Mayfield this season is a plus 13. And he's a player who, while he doesn't make plays pretty, he does not make those silly mistakes that Adam Bovequist seems to consistently make in the defensive zone. It's one of the big reasons why I really want the Islanders to give this Adam Bovequist forward experiment more of a trial, because I really think Adam Bovequist at this point in his career 24 years old. He's proven he has the offensive skills, but he's just struggled defensively. While a player like Scott Mayfield, while it's ugly a lot of times, and a lot of fans complain about it a lot of times, he's been playing better defensively, and I do think some of these defensive issues do not happen when he's healthy, when he's on the ice. He just plays a bigger, stronger game, and that's a big part of it. But Adam Boqvist, he's a player who's a smaller player. Some of these other defensemen we have are a bit smaller, like Mike Riley and Scott Perunovich. So when they make mistakes, those are kind of exacerbated because the other team can take more of an opportunity against them, while Scott Mayfield can kind of recover with a good check or just his body being in the way. I would like Scott Mayfield to get a little more time to end the season. At least they have a better idea what to do with Scott Mayfield in the offseason. Because this is a situation where you don't think you can play him, then you got to find a way to move him. So it would be good to kind of see that at the end of the year. Maybe showcase what he's still capable of. Fans definitely also want to see Scott Perunovich. I honestly think he's more of a seventh defenseman option for the Islanders. I likely don't think he's going to play unless there are injuries. He just has the same mistakes in the game as Boqvist and just doesn't provide the same offensive value. I think there is value there in Perunovich, and it's a shame that he's not getting an opportunity to play. Maybe they should play him in the last few games just to see what they have. I think the demotion was a little harsh after his mistake. It was a bad game he played against the Rangers, but I don't think it was worthy just like putting him down in the cellar for the whole season. But that's just what I think. I don't think he provides as much value as other defensemen. And if you're going to be trying out a defenseman, so maybe consider keeping them next season, I definitely think Boqvist and DeAngelo are just more compelling options, which is why that's happening. That being said, this loss, because we're going to touch on it really quickly before we end the video, really hurt the Islanders' playoff spot. Almost to the point where while the Islanders still technically have a chance, they now have a .500 record, it looks like the Islanders are not going to be making the playoffs. The Montreal Canadiens are now 5 points ahead of them. And while that might not sound like too much, the Islanders only have 8 games. Realistically, even if the Islanders win their last remaining 8 games, which does not look like it's going to happen based on the way they're playing, they would only have 90 points. Historically, that does not often make the playoffs. This season, it'll probably might, but again, I don't think the Islanders are going to win out. If they don't win out, I don't think they really have a chance of making the playoffs. That being said, let me know what you think. Do you think these comments that Patrick Waugh made about Anthony Duclair are problematic? And do you think the Islanders should be making roster changes before the end of the season to either just see other players or still try to make a push for the playoffs? Love to know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's go Islanders.